Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining. I hope everything is displayed correctly. So I am a business consultant at Ergon Design. It's part of the MSG group, which is a big company in Germany. We focus on user experience, mainly in the automotive branch. And I'm here to talk to you about the UIUX part of the web design. So it's going to be a more theoretical part, what's important in web design, some fundamentals. I'll just walk you through a few things, and then at the end, if you have some questions, I hope I can answer them. So yeah, let's dive in. Also, a good part is that I will be the lecturer for the beginner web design course for Code Academy, which will involve mainly basic stuff. So, but enough for you to get a job as a junior web designer at any company, basically. So very important. Let's start with UI/UX fundamentals. And very important to know is that user interface is not equal user experience. Is a common misconception. But UI usually takes care of the visual elements, the interaction patterns of the website, and focuses more on the graphical part. And user experience, or UX, it encompasses the overall experience a user has when he interacts with this product. So it also includes all the different elements like simplicity, minimalism, consistency, accessibility, very important, the visual hierarchy, user feedback, and engagement. So basically the UX encapsulates UI. It's, if you imagine like a big circle, within that big circle you have the UX, and outside of UX you have customer experience, but that's a different topic. So the major principles of effective web design would be choosing a good HTML editor. So when you start creating a website, obviously the most basic website is built on HTML and ideally CSS. And if you need more functionality, then you have some JavaScript as well. And from there on, you need to have a good plan. Like you need to choose good typography that is well readable, typography that fits within the visual hierarchy. So important elements are bigger, less important are smaller. There is a rule to usually not use more than 2 types at once, because it overwhelms and it just doesn't aesthetically please the user. So you should always strive for simple and intuitive design. A good factor, but it's not really that important. It's just good if you want to stand out. It's the uniqueness. So you can get really creative with a website, but it depends on what you need. So don't worry, not everyone needs to be unique. You can just create a simple website that is functional. It has to be appealing, relevant, and yeah, you need to make use of the content. So it has to be effective and sharp. Decluttering So what is simplicity and minimalism? It means like decluttering interfaces. That means do not overwhelm your user with a plethora of information. He needs to be able to navigate through the website well, and you need to make use of the white space. The white space would be the empty space. Basically, it gives room for the design elements or text or toolbars, whatever elements you have. It gives them room to breathe and to expand and to be taken in properly. So you need to present your information consciously and know exactly why you position something, where you position it. A very good example for this, and you would need to, I mean, I'm sure you all know these two websites, so is Apple and Dropbox. So Apple it's been for a long time been given as an example for good design and simple and clear design. They make really good use of all the technical elements that are nowadays available to web design. They have built-in animations, so it's really nice to navigate. So you should look it up and just try to understand what they were thinking when they built it. Dropbox as well, they are really strive for minimalism and simplicity. They're a bit different. On the different part, they're more minimal than Apple, but they don't sell products. They have only their own one product. So again, you see, it depends on what your target is. Consistency, very important. Now, you know, every brand has a brand design, a brand language, a corporate identity. And it usually consists of typical color schemes and typography. So you would need to choose your color schemes and typography wisely. It should fit to your brand, and it should not be overwhelming. So it is ideally that you use colors that complement each other. There is the rule, some might not use it, but there is a rule with a 10, 30, 60 rule. I might say it wrong, but what it means is like you have 10% 10% color for the accents, so 10% accent colors, 40% for the other elements, and the 60% is basically the pale color for backgrounds and other elements. So you should, the idea is that you should only use accents wisely and not put color everywhere, because web design is not a circus. It's a platform that you need to navigate correctly. Nowadays, you definitely need to be aware of usability, of enhanced usability. That means you need to ensure that people with disabilities, with visual impairments, are able to navigate your website. There are tools for web reading, and you need to prepare your website and create it accordingly. So these tools are able to read through the website and navigate a person that, for example, isn't able to see. If you have a visual impairment like daltonism, you need to ensure that there is enough contrast on your website, so everything is readable correctly, even if a person isn't able to see all the colors. So this is really important, and you should always build a website keeping this in mind. It needs to be a cohesive user experience. A very good example for that is Airbnb and Slack. Slack is a chat tool, it's a team tool, which incorporates all these features very well. It has a lot of elements, possibilities that you can use it, and it's being widely used by designers, startups, all sorts of teams. And Airbnb is the well-known company for, I'm missing the word for it, but everybody knows Airbnb. So for traveling, right? Just check all these websites. That's why I just put a big logo on the slides. Just check it for yourself, navigate it, because you will then have the experience and you will ask the questions, okay, what did he mean when he said consistency? Then you'll see what I mean if you navigate through the sites. Accessibility. So as I said, the accessibility is very important. So to accommodate users with disabilities. There is a WCAG, so the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines, which you can look up, and you have basically all the guidelines there that you need to follow for all the different topics. A good example would be the Ally project. I was never sure if it's Ally, but I think it's Ally. And BBC. The Ally project, if you go onto the Ally project, you will see it has a high contrast. As soon as you get on the website, it has a really high contrast. So that ensures basically that every different part of the website is clearly readable, and you can navigate through it even if you are visually impaired. It's been created specifically with this in mind. And the BBC is the well-known broadcasting company from the UK. They also have a very user-friendly site. And being such a well-known and wide company, they also implemented all these accessibility features. So please do check out these examples I gave you, because they're like the standards. Let's call them the standard examples for all these topics. And it's just so you have a first contact with it, and you can then make a mind connection like visual hierarchy, Ally project, accessibility Ally project, and BBC visual hierarchy. You have I'm spelling wrong, Airbnb and Slack, and so on. So for the visual hierarchy, because I got there, that is like telling a story. That's the most important part when you want to guide your user through your website. You can view your website as a book that tells a story, and you have like the front page, which tells you, okay, what's this about? And then you have the first chapter, the second, and so on, which are, you can see them as the menu elements. And in order to make clear to the user what it is and where he needs to focus or what is important to him, because he might just be navigating. So you want him to see something at the first sight, you need the visual hierarchy. So you're directing the user attentions, and you create that by creating contrasts, size contrasts, scale contrast, color contrast. It's always, you can view everything as a total, and in a total of dots, for example, you have one dot that's bigger, brighter, and it stands out, basically. And you then instinctively you will look at that big dot. But that's the whole idea. You can build a website through columns, structured columns, and you have the idea is to make a total with many small elements. I'll stop using the mouse. The best example would be Spotify and Medium. Medium is it's a blog, widely used also for technology, design, all sorts of topics. Very popular. Spotify, everybody knows it. It's the music app, and they usually are given as an example for good visual hierarchy, because Spotify, and funny enough, it's better than Apple, in my opinion, as I would say. If you have the phone app from Apple, so Apple Music, and you have Spotify, you will see a difference on how they approach the different topics for music. So how the genres, how they structure everything, and how easy it is to find what you actually want, and how we it is I find a big difference on Spotify. Most of the people I talk to find it easier to find what they are looking for than on Apple Music. So that would be a good example, just as a exercise for you. Just put them next together and just try to spot the differences and see what you like better. It is, of course, depending on personal preferences, but technically speaking, visual hierarchy is really well done within Spotify. Medium for a blog, because usually blogs are all over the place, a lot of text. It's hard to find things. The old blogs on WordPress, just scroll down, and you have you just have text and text and text. Medium is really well structured. You can find the different topics. You can find easily everything you like, and everything that is of interest to you. And the not so unimportant part of general user experience is user feedback and engagement. So in order to create a product, there is a cycle. There is the design thinking. I will not go into depth with this, but usually after a cycle, so after you created a product, you need to get user feedback and see, is the product according to the users' expectancies? Does it fulfill their needs? So there are different tools for that. Surveys are very well known tool. The mass surveys are also very cheap. Those are tools also used by big companies, but they only give quantitative data and not qualitative data. If you want qualitative data, you would need to run interviews and read person reviews, person ratings, so personal things. That would be qualitative. If you go into a direct discussion with your user, and quantitative would be if you just send out the link and you don't really know your user, you just take out the numbers, and I don't know, you make a chart and you see what the numbers tell you and not what the user tells you. But even so, both give you very valuable insights. So you would know, okay, what does the user see first when they go on my website? If you conduct a usability test, for example, there are eye trackers. Usability tests are usually done within a laboratory, and you have one eye trackers, and you have a person that is noting basically everything you do. He's taking notes, and he can evaluate, okay, what do you see first? What is missing? Is it as you intended it? So very important, user feedback. Always get feedback. If you do it before, it's called user research. If you take feedback, then it's user feedback. Okay, good examples for feedback are Amazon, obviously, and Yelp. Amazon, because it's one of the largest web source out there, obviously they rely much on user feedback, but in this case, it's not really feedback for Amazon, it's feedback for the merchants. So the merchants, they do they place their products and they get feedback on their products, and then they can evaluate and improve the product in best case. And Yelp is also a platform for reviewing people, products, restaurants, all sorts of merchants, commercial places, you name it. And it's being used as a quantitative data, ideally, source for all the different, as I said, source of whatever is reviewed. Now, so we ran through the theoretical part. Those were the basics. So basically, if you take everything into consideration, so all the elements, the fundamentals, so simplicity, minimalism, consistency, accessibility, visual hierarchy, user feedback and engagement, and with a bit of technical knowledge, so HTML, CSS, and a bit of JavaScript, you will be able to create a good website. And technically, it would be also enough to get a job as a junior, where you will have the chance to learn more within a big company and learn all the there is to being a web designer or a web developer. And we need to take into consideration when preparing for this job what the future trends are, because I think if you haven't slept under a rock, everybody is aware of artificial intelligence, which is taking over by storm. It's also, there are AIs that build a website for you just by prompting something, or at least it creates the basic idea of it. There are websites that are that you can engage by voice commands, so voice user interfaces. There is a strong approach of mobile first design because everybody has a mobile phone, and it's more common that you just pull out your phone and scroll and look for a website than starting up your PC or laptop. So that will continue. This is something, so the mobile first design is not per se a future trend. It is a trend that started a while ago already, but it will continue in this direction. what is really future prone is artificial intelligence. And this new dark mode and color schemes, this is a real new trend that came up basically, I guess, with the implementation of dark mode within Apple. But I might be wrong, so don't take me on it. And augmented reality, VR, that is something also well known. It's been on the market for a while, but it never reached the quality that is expected. So AR is something that is being still developed, and it's getting there, it's getting better. And now with the help of AI, the content is it's getting better and better. So you see everyone has invested, like Meta or Facebook has invested a lot of money in their metaverse. So which was a flop for now, but it might get better sometimes in the future. Apple will also be investing in AR. There are rumors they will have a AR hardware soon on the market. So these are the trends. We cannot ignore them. We need to design with this in mind. Questions? If there aren't any questions, or if you got questions, Gabriela, then please let me know. If there aren't, then we'll go to Lev.
Thank you, George. Thank you for your presentation and your point of view to our topic, web design. We do have questions, actually. I also have mine. I really was thinking, it is said that in aviation, for example, in like 20, 30 years, it is predicted that there will be no pilots anymore because everything will be so automated, like automatically landing, automatically flying, and so on. So my question is, with artificial intelligence, is it a threat to web design and web designers in general, in your opinion?
No, I'm a big fan of AI, and I use it. I've been using it for a while now and tested all its, well, not all its limits, but I've tested it enough. My opinion and the opinion of a lot of other designers out there is that it is not a threat for jobs. It is a threat for people that won't use it. So it's basically a question, are you going to implement it into your workflow, or are you going to ignore it? And it will be, that's where the decision will be made. It's between those who use it and those who don't. Because AI will help you be so much better. It gives you, so for me, for example, I create AI art just as a side project, and I always had ideas, but wasn't able to technically put them on paper or on digital, or create them digitally. And that's where AI is able to help. You can find information quite quickly. Of course, ChatGPT, you need to be aware it's not always truthful. But if you train it correctly, because there are ways to train AI, it can be very helpful for all sorts of tasks that are boring for a designer. It helped me create a Python program that just evaluates my invoices, for example, and creates an Excel file with it where everything is calculated, which if I were to do it alone by Googling, it might have taken a lot longer. So there are a lot of perks to it. I would embrace it.
Okay, that's very good to know. I think it soups a little bit laugh about your topic about searching for a job and the second part of presentation. But before that, I have a question from Brakatos. So she's writing, hi George, from consultancy side, how designers are involved in a consulting a client, how to prepare for defending or presenting your designs.
So let me see if I understand the question correctly. So the question, I understand it like that, how you are preparing as a design consultant for presenting your concept to the client, I guess.
I think, usually we understand or like imagine that web designer sitting in front of a computer, creating a design, and somehow either we stop here, or usually web designer is consulting his clients, adopting the website and designs and so on according to his needs. So probably the question was about how much you are involved, and did you experience such things like defending your designs or presenting your designs,
Of course, every designer has experienced once in a lifetime defending your ideas. But the point is that the king is the client is king, and at some point, all you can do as a consultant is just give him the best advice you can. Show him data. It's very important to show him data why your advice is in his favor. And if he still doesn't want to listen, you might want to consider to firing your client, because that is also a possibility. I mean, it is, I would recommend also, and a big designer, though, is online a lot, and he says as well, I mean, you can choose your clients and just you don't need to sell yourself short. Just you're the expert there. You have the vision, you have the preparation. He wants to have a goal, and you will help him to achieve his goal through your experience. You put the data, you show him your implementation, and if he still doesn't want to accept, maybe the collaboration is not that what you're looking for.
Did you experience a lot of such experiences?
Fortunately not, but because I looked well, so I chose my clients wisely, let's say like that. But I've heard of this topic, so I'm aware of that.
Okay. We do have one more question for you from Andrus Vidas, and he's asking, what do you think about Next.js React? How do you think asset pictures from artificial intelligence will reflect on trends?
I'm not sure if I can answer this question. So next, because React is a very technical question. Maybe that's something that Lev can answer. So I know what React is, but I'm not really that deep into the topic so that I can have an opinion on it. So maybe this question I will move over to Lev because he's the developer.
So Lav, if you want to answer it now, feel free.
Yeah,
if not, we can.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if I should start talking or not. Didn't want to interrupt anybody. So honestly, I'm a big fan of Next.js and React, and I definitely recommend that you start learning it if you haven't already. We actually have a couple of projects in-house that we use Next.js with integration of Strapi. Strapi is a CMS. I'm not going to go too much into it. But in any case, Next.js was really accelerated the time from start of project to initial release, MVP, or later releases down the line. So yeah, especially as it does give you the starting point for learning React if you haven't started. So yeah, it's a great way to learn both backend, frontend, and React at the same time. So it's basically covers all fields of web development all in once. And yeah, as far as full stack development frameworks, it's my favorite, honestly. Even though I'm not a fan of React itself, Next.js is awesome.
Okay. I hope, Andrew, we answered your question. If not, feel free to write it a little bit more, that we can ask Lav's opinion about this topic exactly after his presentation. And as long as Lav already starting talking, so I'm giving you a stage. As I represented, Lav is a full stack developer, so he will share his experience about web design and searching for a job probably in this sphere. And as well, feel free to ask him questions, what to do best or where to search. Maybe he can give you some tips about where to find a good job as a web designer. So Lav, your stage.
Yeah, thank you. Just let me share the screen. Right, do let me know if it's on. Yeah, awesome.
So as far as the topic was announced, yeah, I'm pretty much going to be covering both the search for a job as a web designer and what the employers are looking for. So I was recently on a hiring committee. We were searching for a new media developer. So I thought it would be a good insight to show you what we were actually looking for and how we evaluated people. So yeah, as it was said, I'm a senior full stack developer at Bilcon. I'm working here for around 4 years, but I had multiple internships in this company. So I was here for maybe 5 years total. And yeah, so a little bit about me. I actually like to listen to music, and I like dogs a lot, which is kind of the reason I'm spinning around the office. We have a dog here that's actually looking for a lot of attention. So yeah, and at my spare time, I like to go out with my friends to a bar and actually drink beer, as visible here. It was blurred, but you get the gist of it. Anyways, so first of all, I'm gonna be talking about how your next search for a job should look like. So after you finish a course or you actually finished it already, it doesn't really matter. At some point you're gonna start searching for a new job. And honestly, there's a lot of content written about how to prepare your CV, how to rocket your next interview and stuff like that. That's all well and good. And I wanted to focus on other things that do have some remarks to it and some content covering it. But when I was searching for it, it wasn't really mentioned a lot. Yeah, so first of all, this is the things you see on the screen is actually something you should do before even applying for a job. Yeah, so first of all, you want to create a LinkedIn account. I'll go more into this later when I cover networking, but when you apply to a job, you probably want to allow the company to reach out to you, and so you can establish some form of communication and rapport with the company, the interviewer, or maybe a recruiter that contacted you or you contacted them. Doesn't really matter. And LinkedIn is actually the #1 platform for this right now, and probably will be for a long while. And you'll see later, you can add me on there if you need, if you have some questions or something like that. So next thing is to show your work. So after you finish a course or during a course, you're probably gonna start working on some personal projects, something like George said, I couldn't really put it on paper. Well, you're gonna have a lot of ideas, hopefully, and you're gonna start coding or designing them. And you're probably gonna want to, and you should share them with the rest of the world. This is actually great if the company is interviewing you and they want to see who you are, what you've been doing, and where you currently stand. This is a great way for them to learn more about you. And I found 2 platforms that work really well for this. First one is Dribbble. It's focused on web design, and it actually shares a lot of content related to that subject. You can post your Photoshop designs, website ideas, images and stuff like that, and get inspired by others, which is actually pretty great if you're in web design. And if you're doing web development, GitHub is the place where you should be posting most of your content. There's also GitLab and Bitbucket, I think. I'm not quite sure about Bitbucket. In any case, I'm on GitHub personally, and most of the companies are using GitHub as well. And it's really the #1 place to keep versions of your code. And one other reason why you should always have post your work is so you can go through it back through it, and you will see your progress over time. Since a lot of early on developers and designers get discouraged and feel like they're not making any progress. And from personal experience, after like 6 months or so, I go back through my code, review it, and feel like I wrote the worst code possible as compared to what I've written in the last week or so. And this actually means that you're making great progress and you should just keep going. And the third thing you should do is research the company you're applying to. So a lot of people just blindly apply to a random company. Oh, I heard something nice about it or something like that. That's all well and good, but it does not mean that that company will be a good fit for you. And you could miss out on applying to a maybe smaller or a lesser known company because you thought Microsoft is a great fit, but you actually want to be a free spirit that's inspired by others. And from my experience, startups are a way better way to do this than to go into a corporate job as a developer. And also an important topic, companies that actually look you up on LinkedIn, they actually check what you're posting, what you're reviewing, what you're reading, what you like, what you don't like, and stuff like that. And they want to check if you'd be a great cultural fit for them. And if they feel like you wouldn't fit in with their values, they're probably going to reject you. So it's better to apply with companies that share your values rather than companies that don't. So, and the next thing is how you should stand out in an interview. So this also will be reflected later on when I talk about my experience with interviewing other people. But I thought I should share this as it seems to be a bit lesser known or shared topic. So first of all, you should always share your opinions and your solutions. And a lot of people think that they have to go through a straight, narrow path to please the interviewer and that they'll get the job that way. And it's usually not like that. We want to see your thinking process, how you come to a solution, how you got there, what questions did you ask during the process. Did you find any edge cases that we didn't even know existed and stuff like that? And that's why you should always ask questions, and which is actually a second topic, and share your opinions. If you think there's a better solution, you should say, okay, I see your point, but I think this would be a better way to solve this. And maybe you're wrong. We'd be really glad to tell you why we think you're wrong and why our approach is better, but that doesn't matter since we actually see that you care about the topic, that you want to come to a solution and that you're willing to think about it honestly. As most people that come our way were usually, okay, I found this solution on lead code and I'm gonna just redo it, and that's honestly not the best picture and not how we'll remember you at all, to be honest. And the final thing to do is ask for feedback. So a lot of people actually fail to solve some of the code problems or design problems. And there's usually a reason. For example, going back to George's presentation, you didn't use the correct fonts, or you don't have a good contrast. Or for example, you failed to overlook some solution when implementing the algorithm for a specific problem that we presented. And once we finish our part of questioning, you just say, okay, great, I don't have any questions. Thank you for your time. And honestly, yeah, you could go that way, but if you fail to solve a problem, why not ask, how would we solve it? To us, it's a great mark that somebody's actually interested not only in working for a specific company, but actually interested in advancing, moving forward, and expanding their knowledge base. So yeah, please always ask for feedback. You don't know how often that gets overlooked. Okay, and final thing you should always focus on is networking. And I'm going to be sharing a personal story a personal story of mine when I actually learned when networking was actually very important. And by the way, Gabi and George, please let me know if I'm talking a bit faster than usual. I might be, not sure. But in any case, like 2 years ago, I went to a boot camp. Not boot camp, sorry,
sorry, I'm blanking here.
I went to a symposium for developers, a conference. Yeah, conference is a great word. It was a 3-day conference that we stayed at. And every day there was a couple of presentations and then an after party where we go to a club, drink a couple of beers and basically relax. And on the second day, there was a subject that was really close to me personally, and that's clean architecture. It's basically how you should set up your system so later down the line you can implement new features without crashing your code base and messing everything up. And I actually decided to answer all of their questions, be the most active one there. And after the presentation, I stayed for 30 minutes to talk to the speaker and get their opinion on specific topics. For example, like people asked George what you should think about this and that, and a lot more where I put out some things that I thought were mistakes. Going back to the previous slide, I showed my personal opinion on the matter, and we ended up having a really nice chat. And after that, on the after party, I met up with them accidentally, completely accidentally, and decided to say hi. And the guy called over his colleagues, introduced me, said, "This is the guy I was telling you about." And they all had a great laugh, saying, "Oh, you were great. We heard so much about you," and stuff like that. And literally after 10 minutes of small talk, they decided to offer me a job on the spot. And at the time I was already employed, and yeah, I was a bit more experienced in the field, but still this just goes to show how much you can earn from a simple networking experience. It was a 3-day trip where most guys from my college actually decided to just spend the day drinking and stuff like that. I honestly thought it would be great to just learn new things. Yeah. And now I'm going to be sharing what it's like from our side, what we're looking for, and what we tend to notice with people. And I'm going to be having another story time after the next slide. So I actually decided to talk to my colleagues and sit down and discuss why we made some hiring decisions that we did, why we offered a job to some people other than others, even though the second group was a lot better as coders, and why not offer it to them, and actually figured out that how you code or how you design isn't all of it. Soft skills actually really matter here. So we decided that top 3 qualities we're looking for are enthusiasm, eagerness to learn, and resourcefulness. So enthusiasm and eagerness to learn are actually covered in the part ask for questions and especially ask for feedback. If you made a mistake, if you didn't know how to solve anything, and ask for feedback, ask for a solution, or show any interest into the problem itself, it's actually the best thing you can do to get us to notice you. Enthusiasm can also be how you seem at the interview. If you're really mellow, that's cool. But if you jump at the chance to talk about and we see that spark in your eye saying, okay, I actually like this framework or this design pattern, or using Figma instead of Photoshop doesn't really matter at all. But if we see that you're actually interested in this and we see that you're presenting yourself, this is actually a great sign to us that you aren't just saying something to appeal to our side and act like you're sharing our interests, but actually have your own. And resourcefulness is a third one that I figured out, and that's actually how you handle yourself under pressure. So, for example, if you don't know a regular solution or some solution by heart from LeetCode, we actually care more if you can solve a problem from your head, asking questions and just thinking about it for a bit, rather than if you know it by heart. If you know something by heart, that great, you'll solve that problem, but we probably won't use some algorithm or some specific design from some specific presentation. It doesn't really matter to us. We're gonna be giving you a client's requirement, and you're gonna be expected to turn that into a design, code, a feature, doesn't really matter. And a person that can actually find a way to solve a problem without knowing the solution is a lot more valuable to us than somebody who just knows the solution by heart. And so before I get to my final thoughts, this is a very important slide, so I'm going to leave it here. I'm going to tell you a story about the 3 interviews that we had recently, like a month ago. So we were looking for a media developer specifically, and had 3 interviewers. Let's call them George, Mike, and Simon. I'm not really sure. So anyways, out of them, Mike, the second guy, was actually the best developer for the position. He knew his, we were interviewing for a React developer, and he actually was very familiar with the framework. He managed to navigate through most of the problems. The last one was a bit hard for him, and he didn't solve it. But other than that, he was actually a great developer, and he really seemed like a smart guy, talented developer, and all that. The first guy, I think it was John, he was a bit more confused at the beginning, but he seemed enthusiastic. We really liked talking to him, and he didn't solve the last 2 problems. And Simon, the third guy, he did okay. It was a really slow interview, let's say it like that. And while he was an okay developer and all that, he seemed like a generally boring person, honestly. And after a while, we sat down and discussed who should we hire, as we were only hiring one person. And I personally thought that the second guy, Mike, would get the job, as he was the best developer of them all. And it seemed like the next logical step. But the more senior guys decided to sit down and actually look at their history. So we learned that, I think it was Mike, the second guy. He was frequently changing jobs, like every other year or something like that. And we needed somebody to stay with the company for a while, as we're currently working on a very big project, and it will probably go on for like 5 more years or something like that. And on the other hand, the first and the third guy were actually spent 5 years at the last company, and didn't seem to move around all that much. And after a while, we started talking and noticed that the first guy was actually the only one who asked for the solution to a specific problem, even though he seemed like a bit worse coder. It made more sense to us to hire him, as he would actually just stay up a bit later or something like that, look up the solution and solve the problem, rather than being like, oh, okay, I don't know how to solve it, I'm just gonna pass the problem along the way to somebody who's more experienced than me. And after like an hour or 2 of debate, we decided to offer the job to the first guy. So yeah, it goes, basically my point is, ask questions, ask for feedback. That's what the first guy did. And we literally decided to go for him because of it. And be enthusiastic. Oh, and one more point of topic. With the first guy, we actually ended up staying for an hour and a half, while the expected interview period was 1 hour. And with the other guys, we spent like 45 minutes each. So it goes to show how much we actually enjoyed the interview process and the talk we had with the guy. Okay, so final thoughts. First one is, don't get discouraged. A lot of you are gonna go and spend 6 months on a course, spend some time learning alone, doesn't really matter. And you're gonna be like, okay, I feel stuck. I haven't moved up anywhere. I still haven't started looking for a job or something like that. Yeah, it happens. And you're just starting out. You really should go back to your work. For example, Dribbble or GitHub. Look at it. Look at the code. Look at the design you did and stuff like that. And you see that you're actually making good progress. And honestly, you're not wasting time. just push through it. After a while, you're gonna feel more confident. You're gonna start looking for a job, and you're gonna realize that you're actually a lot more advanced than you actually thought. So second one is ask for advice. It doesn't matter if you ask me, George, or somebody else right here. Well, there's actually only Gabia here, but never mind. Or you reach out to somebody on LinkedIn, or you post on some blog site like George mentioned, Medium or something like that. Just do ask questions. It's important for you, because if you're stuck somewhere, you're probably gonna have a lot easier time just asking somebody about it rather than searching for hours and hours and even days on end for a specific solution that you might not even find on the internet. And the third piece of advice that I would offer is it's okay to start small. Like, I know that design and development seem like good paying jobs, and they really are. And honestly, I started earning a lot more later down my career, but I started working for free, or basically an unpaid internship. And after a while, I actually started moving up as I was actually evolving and learning new things. And well, yeah, evolving, it's the best word I can find. And a lot of people just go in and think, I'm going to start at Microsoft after completing one online course or something like that. And they go to an interview and actually get broken completely because they are not on that specific level. But Microsoft, for example, is a lot harder to get into. And maybe not even that, but some people are actually just fixated on the salary and are think, okay, it's not worth it for me to go on a lower salary than XY, which is something that a senior developer might earn. So yeah, do start small. Do look for internships. They're actually a great place for you to learn, and you're actually going to have a great time in the IT industry.